roll call. So, Dan, are you here?
I am here, thank you.
Gillian?
Here.
Gillian? And Laura, Laura DiDonato, I'm here. So we called to order at 6:01. And Swift River Water is our first order of business. So maybe we can start with Tim giving us a quick summary of where we're at. And
Sure, absolutely. So Ty and Bond came back with the proposal. It's an alternatives analysis where they're going to camera the well and then make a determination from there. Did you all have the opportunity to review the document?
Yeah.
yes.
Basically, from here, what we need to do is just have it signed and have it voted to be signed, and to have the funds appropriated to pay for it. I think it's a great idea, and I think it's a great way to start the ball rolling to fix this problem. I think we should move forward.
Yeah, sounds good.
Oh, Gillian?
One question I had, and it may be that it's just a sort of part of the process, but it does not include any part of bidding services for the recommended solution. Could that be an agreement that we have after this contract?
Yeah, absolutely. When I first spoke with them, they said that procurement is something that they will do, but we don't know what we're going to need to procure yet, but once that's discovered, we can definitely move forward with that process. The vision that Ty and Bond has is that this document's probably going to evolve as we discover next steps. So once the camera work for the well is done, we'll probably get together again and look for the ultimate solution for what we're going to do here. And then there'll be a separate cost for that, because this is kind of an a la carte service that they're offering us, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And Carl, I think the New Salem Select Board was able to talk about this earlier this week.
A little bit, but I feel like we're in much better shape now that we're getting a chance to read this document and see what's what. I have a couple of questions, and it's more like about how to move forward, or things that I kind of hope that we might consider. Like they're going to provide an opinion of probable cost. So what I would hope that opinion would include, because they did acknowledge the elevated levels of sodium chloride, I would hope that their opinion of a probable cost for treatment would include addressing sodium chloride also.
Yeah, whatever treatment methodology that they end up using should solve that problem. It's either a new wellhead or filtration, probably. So either solution will definitely make sure that whatever contaminants are in the well will be remedied.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that's also on the radar, and they don't focus only on the PFAS. And I'll also make sure that if we have any other, because I'm not informed about this, if we have any other water problems associated with the site, that their opinion, recognizing it's an opinion, considers those other, if there's anything else going on that I don't know about.
It should. Once we do the camera work on the well, we'll have a better idea of where we're at. Because if we can sleeve the well, then that's going to solve a lot of problems right there. But it really depends on what we've got.
Okay, and that
any solution should definitely. Yeah.
You froze.
Dan or Carl, did you have more, or do you want?
Yeah. What Tim had just mentioned about sleeve the well. As I read this document, I didn't see that as an option. I saw them considering two things. Use the well with a treatment, some sort of treatment mechanism associated with it, or a new well. I didn't see sleeve the well and all is well, and right, and that would solve the problem as being considered here. A potential treatment system for the existing well, or potential location of a new well and water service line. Just that's how I read the document. There's really two options that they're considering.
Right. It starts out by talking about doing the camera work on the well to do that analysis. And then if we discover from the camera work that the well can be repaired with a new sleeve, then we'll go that route. They didn't bid on that or the treatment or the potential treatment or siting of the new well because we don't know what we're going to do yet. That's the a la carte part of it. So once they have done the camera work, then they'll be able to determine which of the next steps we will pursue.
Dan?
Yeah, I think as far as the repair of the well, the Tig and Bond people have said that, yes, it is possible to repair a situation like that. It's a little dicey, and it's only been approved in a few cases for a public water supply, the repair, if there's a break. But it has been approved. It's a little exploratory at the moment, but it does exist as a possibility. I think they realize that. And the main thing, as the engineers have said, is to first do the camera work and figure out what's going on. So I, for one, am really happy with the Tig and Bond proposal, and I would suggest that the Wendell board vote to approve it and go ahead with their proposal. If we can get approval from the FinCom. I sort of thought that Doug was going to be here tonight. He's not, from the Finance Committee, but I think that we can find the money to do this. And I think we could do.
I can just address, Doug had a conflicting meeting and he sent an email, but he really wants the ARPA or the earmark for ARPA to be used for this. And I think that seems like the best route. So we didn't have to worry about finding money. And I think he basically said he was on board with it based on that idea.
I believe that was our vote before, was to use the earmark money first.
Yeah.
From both towns.
Yeah, that's the assumption that I was going on.
Yep.
Okay.
I did have a question. Kelly, I don't know if you had a chance to look at what the asks of the school were and whether that sounded okay.
I think we can make it happen. I just need to know when they're coming ahead of time. So shouldn't be an issue. I know that the students are out June 21st is our last day, so we can start the 22nd.
So the Time Bond's proposal said something about probably about a 6-week process once we have decided to move forward. So that would be towards the end of June if we did this tonight. So we'd be in pretty good shape.
So the June 29th.
Somewhere in there. It's an approximation. It depends on when Henshaw can get there, and then once we find out what we need, if we need to get a bunch of materials, there's a lead time on that. If we are going to do a new public water supply, there's a lead time on that. So really is not set in stone quite yet.
Just a clarification. It says Tie and Bond is prepared to start work immediately upon approval. So I don't know if that means that they'll start work, but they wouldn't need to be in, and that it would take 6 weeks to complete.
Right. They would
Yeah.
start the process immediately where they start lining up the vendors to do the work. They investigate what's going on with the well. Then once they've got that information, we'll probably meet again to do the alternatives analysis and have them come to a meeting so that way they can speak to their results directly rather than through me.
Can I ask a kind of a technical question?
I will try to give you a good answer.
Who signed off on this?
It's a great question. That
On
is
behalf of Swift River School. See, I was thinking Hugh Mackey, as chair of the New Salem Select Board, could sign off on this simply because the school is in New Salem. But of course, it's also addressed to Mr. Tim Newton, health agent. So I'm trying to figure out who can sign the paper to make the agreement go forward.
I don't feel comfortable signing it personally.
I think because the money is, the earmark went to New Salem, even though it represents money from both towns. So I think, yeah, having Hugh sign it
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, that's the route that I think is the most bulletproof. And can I ask one other question? What if I'm looking at the assumptions and exclusions? What's a short-term corrective action plan? They won't do one of those. I don't think that we need one of those, but
That's already in place. That's the bottled
Oh.
water that they've been using.
okay. Great. Oh, okay, I understand.
Are there any other concerns? Jenny, you just came in a little late. I think we're leaning towards approving this. Did you have any concerns with it?
I don't have any concerns. And I apologize. I'm just home from work. So I don't have any concerns. And if Hugh is concerned, Carl, about signing it, I'll sign it as chair of the Board of Health.
Okay, that's good to know. I don't think Hugh is concerned. I just want to make sure it was a signature that will work.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, a Board of Health chair signature will work equally
Okay.
as well.
All right.
Any other concerns or just things to touch on here? Or should we try to put together a motion? Tim likes that idea. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I'd be happy to move that the Wendell Select Board approves the proposal from Tigan Bond to begin work on the Swift River water problem with camera work according to the proposal that they submitted, with financing to be provided by ARPA funding.
Gillian?
I don't know if I can do this. Can I request that you slightly change it?
Sure,
to the-
yes. Why don't you make a friendly amendment just by restating it yourself?
Can I just wanted to like to make a friendly amendment to add on to what Dan just said, to have the chair of the select board approve the contract.
The New Salem Select Board.
Sorry,
Right.
what did I say?
You didn't specify.
Chair of the New Salem Select Board.
Well, I'm not sure we can ask or put in our agreement any request that the New Salem chair do anything.
All right,
Yeah.
let me.
Yeah, I would say I would completely agree with you, but I don't think you can. I think that might be a problem.
I guess
Just-
what I meant to say was that we agree to allow the New Salem chair to sign the contract on behalf of New Salem and Wendell.
Okay, the New Salem Select Board agrees to authorize the New Salem Select Board to sign an agreement with Tigan Bond for exploration of the well.
Yeah, although you said New Salem twice, so we'll just put Wendell in the first.
Wendell.
Okay,
Is that clear enough to everyone and Glenn? And I'll second that.
The original
other-
motion, you mentioned the ARPA funds, and it might just be better to say the Swift River water earmark, just because there's so many different types of ARPA funds.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We can include that friendly amendment. Kelly?
fine with me.
Would it be quicker if we just have the superintendent sign off on it to get it going faster?
Well, we can do both. But I think the Wendell board needs to pass a article saying
Okay.
that we're approving this funding.
Okay, I just looking to get it moving as quick as possible.
That's what we're trying to do.
Okay,
But I think since the language has been jumbled here, we need someone to write it down.
we don't really care who signs it from New Salem, right? I mean, if it's the superintendent, if it's the chair of the select board, it's essentially their funding
Their-
right now.
Their call.
Right, so maybe we just approve it and along with the funding source and not worry about who the signatory is.
That's okay with me.
I understand the intent. I understand the intent. So I'll make
Yeah, I
that-
was thinking the same thing. So the motion, I'll try to restate it. The Wendell Select Board is approving to move ahead with the tie and bond proposal for work on the Swift River well, including the camera work, etc. And to pay for it with a Swift River earmark. Is funding that New Salem has in their possession. Anything else? All right, so I had seconded previous.
Barbara just raised her hand, Lori.
Hmm?
Barbara just raised her hand. I don't.
Oh, go ahead, Barbara.
I just wanted to apologize for coming in late, and I don't know why my name isn't there, but you know who I am. So, I mean, and I looked over the proposal and it looks good, I think.
Your town of Wendell #2. That's what it
I
is.
know. I'm Barbara Craddock, the Board of Health Chair.
Oh, hi, Barbara.
Hi, I don't,
It's
Oh,
just
there we
saying.
go.
Okay. Do we feel the motion is okay now? And then is there any more discussion? And it's been seconded. Is there any more discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Hi.
And that was Dan motion with Lori seconding, is that right?
Sure, let's go with that.
It was a communal effort.
Yeah.
All right, are there any, and so the town of New Salem, the select board, Carl, do you guys have to wait for 2 weeks before you can formalize this, or are you gonna try to do it sooner?
What I'm going to attempt to do is to convince the select board, since we can do this over Zoom, to post a meeting as quickly as possible with a one-item agenda to vote to do this. You know, I mean, we both, Hugh and I were in the offices today saying, you know where that money is, right? And confirm they know where the money is. So so as soon as I get out of this meeting, I'm sending an email to Hugh saying, please post an agenda so we can vote this quickly. That gives, so everybody has as much lead time as they need.
Excellent,
Yeah, good, Carl. Thank you for doing that. It's important.
thank you.
No problem. I like the proposal, and I certainly appreciate you know, Tim's hustle after this and the way that you guys have been so helpful around it. So yeah, so I'll try to hold up my end here.
Good, thank you.
Excellent. Are there any other steps that we need to take, or we just let Tim and Ty and Bond and run with it at this point until there's new information?
Good.
Go ahead, Tim.
So I'm gonna reach out to Ty and Bond and let them know that the Wendell Select Board's approved this, and we're working on getting a New Salem to approve it and also provide a signatory for the project. Just so that I can update them and we can start getting the pieces in place. But they can't start until we have a signature on the document. So that's, as soon as we can get that, would be extremely helpful.
Good.
Okay. All right, well, thanks, everyone.
All good,
and
all good here.
I think we're all good, unless anybody else has other thoughts. All right, thank you so much, everyone.
right.
We'll be moving on to other
Thanks, Tim.
agenda items.
Gotta
Yes.
take care of yourself.
Thanks, folks. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thanks. All right, that was much shorter. Hopefully won't be. What time are other people coming in later, Glenn? Like, what time is Carolyn coming in? Oh, you're muted.
Carolyn knows that she was needed for the last item on the agenda, so there wasn't a specific time exactly. And
Okay.
others, it's on the agenda. Let me see when it says about,
I think it might have been 7:15.
yeah, probably.
We'll see. Maybe all this other stuff will be enough, but it might be worth emailing Carolyn that we might be ready earlier.
Yeah, let me take a second to do that.
Okay. Mm. And then I guess we can start with the approval while Glenn does that. Get things moving on approving the minutes from May 4th.
They look good to me.
So I think,
I just had one question.
Yeah.
Under request from village neighbors for use of village green. It says that I'll look for a form. I don't remember offering that, but I'm not sure what form.
I think we were just trying to find what kind of application form they need to fill out.
Right. And I'm trying to remember when we did it for the meeting house. I'm not sure if we had a form. I'm not sure we have a form for use of the town green.
I think it might have been that we have they often have to use the town hall too because they need the bathrooms. So that
Yeah,
might have been
there is an
Okay.
application form for use of the town hall.
Correct.
And I think
Yeah.
in fact, we've used that for the common.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think that was all figured out.
Okay.
I
And
had
then-
another thing, but I want to
Okay.
make sure Glenn's with us. But maybe we can just make the motion, right? I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from May 4th. And anyone want a second?
I'll
I
second.
will.
Okay. And I did have one little thing that I was going to check in on, which was the April. I think there was just a deadline from the water discussion that was noted as in April for when we needed to start moving ahead. And I think that should be shifted to more like June. I don't know exactly when there was a deadline, and I think it might depend on when the ACO was finally executed, which, but I think it just might be more accurate to say June. I don't know if anybody else knows a better date in terms of this. I think it's when the 60 days is up, right? From when we,
Yeah. Yeah,
So maybe, maybe it's not actually, necessary if we're not exactly sure of the date. There was a date discussed in the meeting, but I can just kind of take that. That line exists whether it's in the notes or not, so.
okay.
Do we feel that we need to follow up with DEP to make sure that they have the information from Ty and Bond?
no,
Okay,
Ty and Bond works hand
Do
in
that.
glove with them.
awesome.
Yeah, that's why Tim wanted to get them involved, because he didn't want to really deal with them.
Very much appreciated.
Yeah, they'll be good.
Okay, so the minor adjustment on that date. Is
Good.
let's see, all in favor of approving the minutes? Say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
All right, next is schedule review.
And
Sorry, Glenn, you
it's a
Okay.
review of,
It's
just
a
looking at
review
the
of
next meeting date.
select board minutes, meetings and warrant. So you've got a warrant a week from tonight and then a meeting on June 1st. Then you've got the town meeting. And then you will have another warrant. I think if I'm not looking at your agenda at the moment, I probably shouldn't be doing this from memory.
6/8.
6/8 is the next warrant after next week. Okay.
That seems right.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
And I think last time we talked about when we were going to sign next week at this point. I can stick with my normal time, which is early afternoon.
And I too will either do it the evening of the 25th or before 8 o'clock on the 26th.
Okay, I'm good for 10.
Okay.
It seems like maybe we can just establish that as the regular schedule. And then if someone can't do that, then in the future we can
Yeah.
note that.
Sure. Sounds good.
And you guys do the scheduling, was it originally to avoid being in the same building during COVID?
Yes, I think it was. The more I think about it, we probably don't need to be so strict with that anymore, but
Right.
Okay.
I do
you
think
can always go whenever.
I do think it helps us, since we're not all coming together for a meeting in person, that it sort of clarifies, yep, I've got it. Yep, I've got it. That we have it scheduled.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay.
And so we have a sense of who's the last one, maybe too, also to check in to make sure it was put in Carolyn's box.
Yeah,
Mhm.
totally. Okay. Great.
Okay, discussing again whether we want to go to in-person meetings is next. Does anyone have new thoughts?
I feel like, if anything, that the COVID cases are higher than they were when we had this last discussion. So I guess I'm feeling like we need to stay status quo and continue Zoom.
Well, I'm feeling a little more relaxed about it, but I think that if anyone feels like Gillian does, then we have to respect that. So I'm happy doing it remotely for the time being.
And I mean, I'm comfortable meeting in person, wearing masks, but if we met, I'd want to be masked. So
Another thought that occurred to me is that if we kept our meeting time at 6 o'clock, we're getting to the point where we could meet outside, possibly on the picnic table there. If people are comfortable meeting outside. I don't know if people are not comfortable with the bugs or whatever, but that's just a thought.
it might be hard if people joined us. Right, we just have to be prepared, I guess, to bring chairs out or something. But
Right. Yeah.
We have a rain plan, I guess.
Yeah. Rain plan.
Mhm.
Well, the rain plan would be to meet in the conference room with the windows up and with masks, I suppose. But if anyone's the least bit cautionary about it, I'm happy sticking with remote for now.
Yeah, I'm happy probably either way. And
come July, it sounds like we'll have to meet in person, right?
yeah,
Oh.
unless,
Yeah, they may extend it. If I'm guessing, I would guess they're going to extend it because I think legislators like it, but I'm not sure.
I think you're right.
and just to let you all know that this 6 o'clock time, I sort of like it too, but I realized that there is a meeting right now for the Franklin County Solid Waste District, which Doug currently is the rep and I'm the alternate. But Doug is going to be leaving that position at the end of this fiscal year, I believe. So I assume I'll be taking that over unless somebody else wants to. And that's it's probably once a quarter, it's once a quarter, but it would conflict with a 6 o'clock meeting.
Right.
Just to keep that, I think I would, something we can keep in mind, I think, but
Yep.
But for now, we could probably stay Zoom and bring it up again in a month, or bring it up, or maybe once we know what's happening in the legislature with the July deadline.
Yep.
All right.
So I guess if something changes in the legislature, we'll put it on an agenda. And if not, we'll put it in for July anyway, just to revisit, or,
Sure, and anyone can say they want to bring it up, in the moment if we find our minds changing or whatever. Okay, so I think the next two things we might want other people here, the dry hydrant and the town meeting, the town meeting warrant. Is Doug coming to discuss that? Or Carolyn? Either of them need to be part of that discussion.
I think Doug has really led the charge on the warrant this time, so I think it would be good if we can wait for him to.
Okay, so shall we talk about the library trustees extension cord request?
I move we accept it.
We go with that. So I don't know. I mean, it seems like a pretty straightforward thing, and we have power that we let people use on the common. And the trustees seem like they're on top of sort of figuring out the logistics and making sure it's okay from their point of view. I think the only question is liability if our power is going to somebody else's private residence. But I'm inclined to say okay as well. I did ask Phyllis to ask Jim if he had any thoughts about it, but I didn't hear back from her on that.
That
Does
went
someone
under
want to
very-
second Dan's motion?
Sure, I'll
didn't
second
get-
it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Should I check with our insurance and see if they have any concerns or if they have a rider for something like that?
It might not be a bad idea because if say it like some energy surge, power surge, so I don't know what they're trying to power. Like that's the other thing. And if for some reason something happened to the power system at the library, who would be responsible for fixing it?
Yeah, sounds like a good idea. And I don't think this is a rush. It's not until August, and the trustees aren't even talking about it till June.
What are they asking for?
They want to have an extension cord from the library to the property. This is Apollo and Patty, to their property for a party gathering, so they can have power.
Do they not have power at that house?
I don't think they do.
I don't think they have enough power.
Enough power, yeah.
Do you want to call for a vote, Lori?
So do we want to wait for some more input from insurance, or we just want to vote on approving this request?
Well, I'm okay to vote, but up to you guys.
I guess I would still lean towards just is it upon approval of a waiver if needed, or a rider if needed, excuse me. Is that okay to say that?
I think it's okay
Sure.
to say that. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so all in favor of that adjusted motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay, next is the Audubon camper ships.
Yes, okay, just 1 second. So I emailed you some stuff. And essentially Audubon offered essentially 2 different weeks when they could accept campers who are, was it between ages 13 and 14, Gillian, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so one of them was in late June and one of them is in August. And it just felt like the late June date was too fast to try to give parents any notice or kids a chance to apply. So I spoke with them, and they can hold the August date a little longer for us to give us more time to kind of roll out the application process. So the plan would be for, or my proposal is that the deadline is the Friday before your second meeting in June. Then you would meet on the second Friday and decide on the winner. And then that would give the family 1 week to kind of confirm that they want the campership.
You're not saying we meet on Friday. You mean second Wednesday?
I meant to say Wednesday, yeah. So
Okay.
the deadline would be Friday. And then the following Wednesday, that would give you guys between Friday and Wednesday to read the essays. Wednesday night, you could make the choice. And then they would have a week to kind of confirm their campership with Audubon.
And
So I
the-
guess what I would be looking for would be a motion to kind of accept that as a plan.
So this is for a campership that takes place when?
It's in August.
And so what's the need to get the writing in so quickly by the middle of June?
Well, originally Audubon had said they could hold the camperships until June 10th. And I wrote and asked if he could make that later so I could at least get your meeting in, but we could ask if they can hold the campership even longer if we want to have more of give them more time to write their essays. The essays are 100 to 200 words long. And I don't know, for myself as a student, having longer deadlines didn't always help me.
Okay, good
I don't know
point.
how other people feel. So to me, it sounded reasonable, but if we wanted to make it longer, I could talk with him about whether they can hold the campership longer.
I think we had a pretty tight turnaround last year.
Yeah.
And I mean, it seemed, and we had one person, I think, who got their application in late. But also, I understand the Audubon, like if those spots aren't going to be taken, they need to be able to fill them with paying
Yeah,
participants. I expressed to Glenn, I have a little bit of a concern about the ages. So that's like a seventh grader. I think before we've offered it to elementary school, but the camps that are that week are the older kids, not the younger kids. So maybe this year it's offered to the older children, and we could maybe have a conversation with Audubon over the summer to kind of clear up some questions and sort of set up more of a schedule and a plan for how this works, as well as maybe the potential for some additional either camperships or some educational opportunities, since they continue to have more property in Wendell. That maybe our ask can change.
Is it just seventh grade, or is there a range that's bigger than that?
Well, it's
7th
13,
and 8th.
Seventh and eighth?
yeah, 13 and 14-year-olds.
Okay.
Yeah, it's based on how old the children are during the week of the camp.
Okay.
So that limits, I mean, how many 7th and 8th graders do we have
Right.
in Wendell?
Some years we
Yeah.
don't have many.
Right.
I don't know what it's like out there now.
Right. And I think the age before was 8 to 10 for the younger group. So that gave a little bit more of a window, a range.
Hmm.
Yeah, it seems like the longer lead time we have with them, the more options they're going to have available for us. So we may even want to be, because a lot of parents will start planning their kids' summers in November, December. So it might be good to see if we can really do it much sooner than we're doing it now.
Well, right, and along that line, I think what we need to do now is get the public announcement out as soon as possible about this.
Yeah.
and in all different ways that we can do that. And
Yeah.
that's sort of been the problem with this in the past, is that we've been slow on the publicity machine. And it's not easy to do the publicity machine. And we haven't gotten a lot of, we've been lucky to get 2 or 3 essays. It'd be good to
Yeah,
have more.
okay. Yeah,
And we don't have Swift River, which is a good way to get the word out.
Yeah. Well, we do have Gillian now, who's super connected to all those people.
Not as much to the middle school, but I do
Right.
feel like we could make an ask of Mahar. I mean,
Yeah.
not all the children go to Mahar,
Yeah.
but I think we could ask Mahar if they would send this message out to the 7th graders, 7th and 8th graders, and it could be, you know, for Wendell students.
Yeah. Great idea. Nobody knows a teacher at Mahar in that grade,
Yeah,
maybe?
Carl might be. I mean, sorry,
yeah,
Carl
just
is a
the
teacher.
Maybe go
the
through something.
superintendent or the
there, I
principal
don't know.
probably controls the, you know, the newsletters or the emails
Right.
that go out to the family, so.
yeah. I think they would be willing to. We just have to, you know, follow whatever process they have to get the word out. And put it in the, I can put it on next door Wendell, and we can put it on the Wendell townsfolk list, and we could post something at the library and at the store and post office and town
I could do
offices.
a press release to the
And a press
reporter and our friend Josh here.
Good idea.
And I'll share it on Facebook.
Well, that should do it.
Right. So I guess we just need to determine when the essays are going to be due.
Well,
Yeah, so the proposal is the Friday before the 3rd Wednesday in June. So let me see when that is. June 10th. To have them either email them or have it arrive at the Wendell Town offices.
well, that sounds good, but I would lobby for extending it a little bit, you know, Glenn, if you could make a call to them and say we need another week or something.
Okay, I'll see what I
Because-
can do.
We're now talking about less than a month, really.
Yeah, that's
for them
right.
to do it. It's pretty quick.
Yeah,
Well, what concerns me though, Dan, but then we're putting it off even later. I don't know.
what do you
Well,
mean?
but if they accept it, what's the problem with that?
You know what we could do? We could, I mean, I could get in touch with them first thing tomorrow and hopefully he can get back to me right away. So I guess I'd like to know what your preferred schedule is. And then if they don't have that flexibility to hold those dates, just that you authorize it to go out with the current plan.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, that sounds good to me too.
Sounds good to me.
So if you wanted to give them, say, a full month from when the news started spreading, which might be, say, by Friday, then you'd be looking at maybe having a deadline of the 24th and making the decision at your meeting on June 29th.
That sounds a lot better to me. Yeah.
My concern is school will be out by then. And I think kids will be more in the routine of responding to things like this while they're in school. I don't know.
Well, they can respond while they're in school if they want.
Right. You're just pushing the deadline back.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
All right,
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
I'll see if that works for him. Great, okay.
Thanks, Glenn.
Or
It's true that we're only holding, it's only one spot, right? So it's
two spots.
2 spots.
Two spots.
So should we just clarify who is doing what in terms of announcements and such? And we need to get clear details unless Glenn is going to do it. He needs to pass on the specifics on the dates for camp.
Well, how about if I did the emails to the town email list, the and the press release. And then if Gillian or someone else wants to kind of adapt that into a flyer that could be posted on the library and the store and everything.
What about the Mahar?
Oh yeah, I could email it to Mahar as well.
Okay. And I'll do next door.
Great.
My
Okay,
personal
excellent.
Facebook. Yeah.
Awesome.
And- Right. Once you have things finalized, Glenn, you'll send it out to us, right? And then we can-
Yeah, you'll definitely get a copy for sure. Yeah, and I can send it out to the town departments and all that as well. So
Thank you.
blast, blast, blast.
Yeah.
All right.
I also wonder too, if we should just send, maybe Glenn, if you could just send an email to Swift River, letting them know that the camper ships this year are going to 13 and 14-year-olds. And if they have any families they want to send it to, they could.
Is the contact I should send it to at Swift River?
Ariel or Kelly Sullivan.
Can you get me contact info for them?
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll be happy to do that. Okay.
All right, ready to go on to the next thing?
Yep.
This, the Mormon Hollow contract, is that something we need to discuss, or is that just something we're gonna come in and sign?
I think Phil was going to be here for that. No?
Yeah, Phil wanted to discuss that with you.
Okay,
You have to
So we'll
make a
hold off.
motion.
I don't know if we need to make motions on all of things like that. Is that what you're saying, Glenn? You wanted a motion for the Audubon?
No, that's
Oh, okay,
fine if you
sorry.
want to be.
Oh, we need to
more-
make a motion for the Mormon Hollow contract?
Yeah, I do think Phil may have a need for an official motion on that.
Okay, so we'll wait and see when. And is he scheduled for 7:15 or 7?
7:15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did I get
no,
him?
I'm
on-
sorry, that's Joe Cuneo. Joe Cuneo.
Did I get him on the agenda for a specific time on this?
No, you didn't.
No. no.
Okay, well, I think he knows he's coming, so hopefully
I think so. Yeah.
he'll be here probably at 7. Maybe that'll be good. Maybe we can get him in before Joe.
All right, so we have applications, other applications, table and chair rental.
I emailed you that one. It's actually coming up right away. I think they're assuming that you will approve it. Looks pretty standard.
Do you want me
Yes,
to
I
read
think-
it out loud, or if you don't have it?
If you have it right in front of you, sure.
I do. It's a borrowing agreement request for Saturday, May 21st, which is this Saturday, to be returned by 7 a.m. on Sunday. And they're asking to borrow 5 tables and 20 chairs. Total due $14. And this is by Marcy Wickham Diamond.
Pretty good price.
Yeah,
I know, I was looking, I was like 50 cents a chair and something like that.
Very, very generous town.
So that
They
does
already
bring
sent
up
it
another
out, yeah.
question to me in terms of who the check needs to be written to.
It's already
of-
been written, so I didn't check to see who they made it out to. I haven't processed it yet because I was waiting for this.
Town of Wendell.
It should say town, and there's some old forms floating around, maybe even on the website, that says to write it to Joy.
Oh,
So I think we need to make sure that it's,
I'll make a note of that. We can
Clear.
try and clean that up. Okay.
well, I'm fine approving this application.
Me too.
me too.
And I'm curious, I don't know if we've done this before, so who is in charge of making sure they can get their chairs when they need them, tables when they need them?
Actually, Glenn is in charge of it, but he can delegate that if he's not around or can't make it.
Yep, I think Joy is planning on doing it, but I'll confirm with her.
Okay.
If she
Good.
needs help, let us know.
Okay.
And let's see.
So
So the tag sale,
yeah,
did we get an application for that one or is that,
I didn't know, I guess I thought that it would probably be similar to the Village Green one where I wasn't sure what the form was, if there was a form for that.
oh yeah, this one might be a little different because they have the library. They won't need the town hall at all, probably. Because it's an extension of the library and they'll have bathrooms there.
Right.
Yeah,
So, yeah, this might just approve it as long as it doesn't conflict with anything else.
yeah.
Yep.
Didn't conflict with anything that I knew of.
What's the date again?
Question.
I'll look.
Gosh. Apologize. Did I email you all with the details on that?
I don't think I saw it.
Yeah, I don't remember anything, but
Okay. Oh, I know where I can look. Hold on. I remember where I stored this information. A June 12th, all day townwide tag sale in the North Common, and they request a June 19th rain date.
June 12th, you said? Well,
Yes. Yeah,
so that's
with
a
the June.
Sunday, right?
Yeah. Sunday, yeah.
it sounds fine to me.
Yep, sounds fine to me.
Good for me.
Okay, I'll let them know.
And
Alright.
Glenn, if you have some kind of a calendar, I would put it on. You know, even
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so far as I'm aware, we don't have a calendar for outdoor spaces. We're actually was talking with the kitchen coordinator, and we're going to discuss with the website committee about creating. Currently, the website has the functionality to put up meetings of different types and have it display on the calendar and be able to filter the calendar by various options. So we were going to ask them to create a new designation for town hall kitchen use. We could also have them do something similar for outdoor spaces, and we would have to designate which outdoor space, because some people are using gazebo, some people are using the North Common, etc. But we could, when people create events, which would most likely be me, put events up there, I can kind of specify which outdoor space we're talking about.
Good idea.
like,
Yes.
Lori, do you know if the chorus reserves the gazebo? I thought of that question is.
That's not us. Yeah, that's a different chorus and
Oh, it
I
is.
don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's Laura Dowdy. She
Mhm.
obviously hasn't come to the select board.
Right. I guess
Yeah,
I was
that's
assuming
true.
it was
Is it-
the.
Have we
Wendell.
ever thought of requiring people to reserve the gazebo?
I mean, if it's a public space, is there any reason why people wouldn't be able to just go and use it?
No,
No,
no. I'm just trying to think of where is there, like, at what point do we want people to reserve, like for this tag sale? Could they have just gone and done that without asking us and it wouldn't have been a big deal?
I think
Because there's-
when parking becomes an issue sometimes, or road safety becomes an issue. I mean, that was one thing we talked about with the meeting house.
Yeah, I think if it's a public event with a lot of people involving town property, then it's good. Number one, that we know about it and we can spread the information about it if necessary.
Mhm, mhm. Okay. Sounds good. And the next was the Village Neighbors event, which I think we talked about last time. That one, we thought they might need the town hall too for bathrooms. Did we hear more from them on that? Did we
No,
get
it
official
goes back to
application?
our discussion on the minutes. We didn't get farther on figuring out if there is a form they should fill out and which one it should be. So we'll make progress on that between now and next meeting.
Okay, I think it should just be the town hall application, rental,
Okay, just the town hall.
unless, if they need if they feel like they need the bathrooms, I guess, depending on how long the event is and the library's open, or maybe they would have the senior center open.
So maybe just inquire whether they're going to be using the town hall at all, and if not, then they don't need to fill out a form, and it's you all approve, and if they need restrooms, they can, and they're going to use that Council on Aging or something, then that's not here to decide.
Right, that sounds good to
Okay.
me. What's the date on that one again? Well, it's a different, is it the different common?
Yeah, I guess I would be looking back.
Might be in the minutes, right?
Might be in the minutes. I'm trying to think where it would be. See if it's
Don't see it. I mean, I think it's fine to wait unless the date is coming up too quickly.
I'm not finding my notes quickly on that one.
Oh,
either,
it's-
unfortunately.
I found it. Village Neighbors,
Yeah,
June 23rd at 6:30 PM with a rain date of July 24th.
bear with them. What their needs are.
Village.
Hmm.
Neighbors.
It might be Nancy Spittle. Yeah, so I'm okay if to approving that without an application if they don't need the town.
Me too.
Me too. And again, I still think we should put it on some calendar because we may have more
Yeah.
requests. If somebody gets the idea of managing a Wendell Old Home Day.
Mm.
Sometimes it's the beginning of August, end of July.
Oh. Okay, let's see. Looks like Joe's coming in. Should we just wait for him and have that discussion before we move on?
Hi, folks. How's it going?
Hey, Joe, how are you?
Hey. I just got off another meeting. You have to give me just a second to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
That's fine. We've got other stuff to talk about. All right, so next thing was pest control.
Yeah, I put that on. I met with the fellow from Minuteman and got some interesting information. We went through all the buildings. His plan basically is to put these little bait boxes in 3 or 4 places, likely spots in each building. And then they just come and change the boxes out every month. It's fairly pricey. He's supposed to get a price to us, hasn't come through yet. But as I remember, it's in the range of hundreds of dollars per building per month. So that adds up pretty quick. And, you know, the bait boxes are botanical, it's botanical poison. And I did ask him if he were a mouse, if he would prefer dying in a trap, a snap trap, or by poison. And he didn't have an opinion on that. But I think poison is a bad way to go myself if I were going to choose. But then there's the question of the bodies. And I asked him what happens to the bodies. He said, well, they do smell, but not for very long. So that's another thing to consider. You know, it just occurred to me, if it's just a matter of placing these boxes and checking them every month or rotating them, it would not be a hard job for the custodian to do that. And it would probably be a lot cheaper. But just
If he's willing. I mean, it's not.
If he's willing.
Right.
It's fairly mundane stuff that you're dealing with. It's not
Yeah.
like pesticides, ordinary pesticides.
Mhm.
Was there any discussion about other pests besides mice? Because I wasn't the concern also about bugs and
Hmm.
Well,
At the town hall.
there was a concern about carpenter ants, but he didn't find any,
Oh, really?
really. Yeah. Look, I've never seen carpenter ants in the town hall, and I've been in the basement a lot. But of course, you don't.
Yeah,
know.
the mysterious thing is this debris that shows up on a counter in the kitchen. Like every time I go, it's
Oh.
there in one spot.
Oh,
And that's what Eric thought it was.
okay.
And the kitchen coordinator, but I would trust the pest guy. I don't think anyone's seen ants either necessarily. Maybe Eric has. I don't know if Philly has told you that. I think it's
those
just,
flying insects that he's concerned. He doesn't know what they are, but they look ant-like. And he just was concerned that, you know, what are they, and should the building be treated to control that? Lori, do you know if they're still coming in that quantity from when Eric was taking pictures before?
the insects or
The insects in the kitchen.
I don't know.
Mhm.
And yeah, other than ants or termites, I honestly don't know how other bug treatments, like, just seems like some bugs are just there.
Mhm.
You have to deal with them.
Right. And so do we feel like we can't make a decision until we have a quote from this Minute Man? We have one general quote from Zero Tolerance.
And can you remind me, Gillian, what the numbers were on that? How much was that?
Yes, just give me a moment and I will pull it up.
And Dan, can I just ask, did you ask about the whole idea of like owls and birds of prey and this poison that they want to use in the bait boxes?
Oh, no, I didn't ask about that. You mean if a mouse eats some of it and then runs outside and it gets eaten by a bird of prey?
Yeah,
Well, that's a problem.
yeah,
I did not ask about it, and I didn't even think about it, but
okay.
that is a problem for me.
Because I think the zero tolerance bait, maybe they are thinking about that and they say that the mice are likely to go burrow somewhere.
Yeah. Oh,
And therefore it's less risky for the birds of prey.
they bury themselves. They take care of the whole funeral.
basically, yeah, I think he said it had something to do with an instinct to like stay away from your pack, you know?
Oh, boy.
And they supposedly also leave the building, which is another benefit in terms of not having the dead bodies.
Yeah.
So I do know at the library that they're not leaving the basement. Because
The
they're
mice.
finding the library is being treated with the same thing. And you know, I don't know if they can't make their way out of the basement, but it's there. they're cleaning up the mice in the basement and getting rid of
Mm.
them afterwards.
Is Eric doing that or somebody else doing that?
No,
Oh, no, it's zero tolerance, does it?
no, I think people at the library are taking care of it.
And
Okay.
I'm sorry, I missed that, Gillian. How are they taking care of it?
Well, they have, so Zero Tolerance has been treating the library.
Right.
I think about 6 months ago they started. And so they, but they said that the mice are dying in the basement. So they're having to clean them out of the basement.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
But, you know, to the numbers that they had, they really had to do something to take care of
Mhm.
them.
Right.
So what I have from Zero Tolerance is the proposal for following our estimates for treatment in town buildings, and he broke it out by building. So it's sort of a la carte. We could choose what we wanted to do. One part of the proposal was for annual carpenter ant treatment. So that's once a year and would include spraying the full perimeter of the building as well as exterior wall baseboards inside the building. It's also necessary to spray in the kitchens and under sinks if in the building. All is done with botanical insecticide. The town hall would be $350 for the year. The town office would be $300 for the year. The library would be $275 for the year. And the senior center would be $75 for the year. So if you add it up once a year, say if we chose to do all the buildings, it would be, you know, $1,000 for all the buildings. And then as far as mice, he would consider at least every 3 months. The first treatment would be a little bit more for the purchase of the boxes, but then the price drops because it's just refilling the boxes. And the following are estimates for the building based on treatments every 3 months. So the first treatment would be $175 each for the town hall and town offices. The library has already been done, so it would just be the price for a refill, which is would be $125. The senior center would be $100. And then the refills drop down by about $50, $25 or $50. And then
And the refills are every 3 months.
right. And he said the following estimates that I just gave you are for single building mouse refills. And then he gave an estimate. The following estimate is for mouse treatments every 3 months for town buildings if all are asked to be done. So if we say we want you to treat all of the buildings, the price drops to $99 for the town hall, $99 for the town office, library $99, senior center $44.
So that-
Gillian, did they, oh, sorry, Dan, did they actually go and look to see if there were ants there?
No. So we could have him inspect it before we asked him to do the treatment, but he's giving us a sense of how much it would cost.
Right, okay.
And he gave me the information about the active ingredient in the bait,
which is?
which is, bear with me, Brahma dialone, EPA number 12455-79. It's a safer anticoagulant. And he prefers this bait over stomach irritants, as the mouse feels a euphoria that tells them to instinctively get away from the other mice. It goes into more detail. I'm not going to read it all, but.
Well, when I get euphoric, I want to get closer to other people. I don't know. I guess I'm not a mouse.
Yeah, but Dan, you don't want to get closer to the other mice though. So that's
So I guess I'm starting to feel like I kind of want to move on because I know the issue is continuing and I would like to try to help knock it down. Lori, were you going to touch base with Good Neighbors? I can't remember.
No, I was going to do that.
Okay.
And I did send an email out to them and I didn't hear back.
Okay,
So maybe someone else should try. Or I could try again.
And was this just to like ask them?
Get a sense of
They're-
what their feeling is about the population
Mhm.
Okay,
of mice and rats or whatever and ants in the building. 'Cause if anyone, they have a really good sense of it.
Mm,
And plus, they're dealing with food all the time. So if they're there, that's where they're going to be. So I'll get back in touch with them and see if I can get an answer.
I can try too, because I probably should call them about the phones also. And Nancy, yeah, she's better over the phone than email, so she might not answer your email.
Right.
Do we want to wait till we have a quote from the other company, or?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Glenn, did they give a sense of when they could get us a quote?
It really sounded like the reason we don't have it today is just because yesterday and today were exceptionally busy for them. So I'm assuming they can have one by the next select board meeting.
Okay. All right, hopefully we can make a decision then.
Hmm. Okay, so should we jump back and Joe here talk about the dry hydrant?
Okay. So, what, has there been an easement executed with you, Lori, or you guys? Has it
No,
happened?
no, I
Okay,
think, I'm not sure where the communication, I don't know. I think we were thinking it was like a chicken and egg kind of thing. We were thinking of wanting to get more cost and feasibility information from you before going ahead with the easement, but I think you might need us to go ahead with the easement before you can get more cost and feasibility information. Does that sound right?
right, 'cause it doesn't make much sense to try to get estimates for something that can't happen, so that's how I looked at it, but
Okay,
but that being said, so part of the issue that once we had the survey done by my engineer friend, who charges very little to get it done, which was good. It turns out that the slope of this, the bottom of the pond coming off that shoreline is such that the length of the dig that we would have to execute and the amount of distance that the pipe would have to be out into the bottom of the pond will make it more difficult to execute, essentially. And it also means that, you know, you'd have to support it at the very end. So that's all part of the equation of how expensive it gets to do all this. It's a valuable site from the point of view of having a good constant water source for the town. But well, I mean, it arguably doesn't do much for a direct replacement for Bowen's Pond since it's all the way on the other side of town. That being said, Bowen's Pond, we use it from a lot of places that are not necessarily close by to where the fire may be far away. We tell people to go there because it's kind of easy and off the road. So the safety factor and the ease of setup is good. And that would remain the same at Magaboy Pond. We did look at the pond down the street from Kemsley Academy on Fay Road. Our engineer basically said is not going to be feasible. It's not worth it to try to dig in there and make that work because the water depth is not going to be sufficient for you to get what you need out of it for a reliable water source. So we can always draft out of, at least when there's no ice, out of something like that because our strainers float on the surface of the water. So the water depth is an issue, but not as much of an issue. With the dry hydrant, you need basically a minimum of 2 feet of constant water head over the top of the intake for the dry hydrant. You always want to have that for the thing to work properly and not cavitate or have a whirlpool. I'm trying to think what else I can tell you guys about it. I mean, it's kind of just got left there. I forget the gentleman's name right now, Tom, the guy that owns Bowen's Pond. At one point, he was willing to assist in paying for the piping and the materials for the dry hydrant, but I don't believe he would do anything else beyond that. He, was very interested in trying to help us get it done. I'm not sure. I haven't had any contact with him in several months. And, then COVID came along and it all just kind of went away. So.
Doesn't he want to drain the pond?
In terms of Bowen's, my understanding is he wants the dam to go away because he doesn't want to pay for the dam, to maintain the dam anymore.
Right.
That's a different issue. I'm just talking about, we sort of dropped the project because of COVID. We didn't really continue with it. More or less. I mean, that's not the only reason.
So he would pay for a new dry hydrant at a different pond. Is that what you're saying? Those parts.
He at one point had offered to pay for the actual materials, which is essentially the piping that you need, the Schedule 40 PVC piping and the various pieces to it. I never did get the impression he would pay for the digging or anything else. And that the piping and the parts, although more expensive now than they used to be, that's not the cost involved. The major cost is the actual trenching and how to make that work. Because you're gonna, you have to trench into the water and the water fills your trench and you have to figure out how you're gonna make that all work correctly, basically. There would be a few trees that would have to be removed in order for it to work properly. All that's totally doable. It's just a question of time and money. And I do not have an estimate on what that's going to cost.
Yeah.
Just a curious, Joe, can you draft out of the Millers River?
We can, depending
Down at the depot?
Down at the depot, you mean right there by the bridge?
Yeah.
Yeah, we certainly could. If the water depth is high enough at the time we go to use it, yes. It's not always the same, but if you're talking all the way down underneath Route 2, is that what you mean?
Well, yeah, or any place, Millers River.
No, we have. There was a big fire down there back in 2007. It was actually technically in Orange, and we did use that for that. It was a little bit of a problem to get it to work, but it did work.
And how about Mormon Hollow Brook over near us?
I don't think so. Not successfully. Not reliably.
Not big enough.
Not in any reliable sense, no. And so in terms of, where do I look at the town in terms of where you might have an issue with water supply, Mormon Hollow, that area is a problem area because there's nothing close by of significance for ponds. The closest one that exists across the street from Diamond Farm, they have a pond that's kind of a little bit up on an elevation, which we've had discussions back and forth at one point or another about being able to do something with that. It's not that big, but it would be something. I'd imagine you have to go down into Millers, where they have, water supply down Millers River, Millers Falls, to get water.
Right. Well, I think I was at least one of the people who asked for this on the agenda, and I'm sorry that Doug or FinCom is not here because
Doug's here now.
Oh, Doug's here now. Great.
I am. I don't know what help I'm going to be, but
I didn't see you. Because Doug, we're talking about this dry hydrant thing, and Joe had asked what's the status of this of the plan, and basically an easement would have to go next to our lawyer, and so then we start spending money. So the question is, how much money is this whole thing going to take? And I don't know if you heard the first part of Joe's description of this, but basically it could be a very expensive operation to create the hydrant itself with all the
what does that mean? What does that mean, very expensive?
So I don't have a hard number, but essentially you're talking about running a trench 5 to 6 feet deep from, say, 10 feet off the edge of the road down and into the pond. So you have to get under the water line by 2 feet and all the way back out. And so that's a fair amount of digging. I don't really know. I don't have an estimate, so I can't.
Nobody knows.
Yeah, I'm guessing
Digging in water? I have no idea. Anybody have any idea?
several $1,000s would be my guess.
I mean, several $1,000s isn't a huge problem for the town. $50,000 is a problem for the town.
Right. I would hope.
I don't worry about several thousands. I mean, on top of one another. And yeah, but I mean, that's good. That can be done.
So
That's why we try to keep the stabilization fund high.
Right.
Things like that.
So I guess the question is, should we send this off to the lawyer and start spending money on drawing up an easement?
Let me just say one other thing in my other role as joint landowner, which is, I think Ray has been in contact saying there is some very slow and, investigations about McAvoy dam removal. It's something that we may want to discuss with the town, investigate a little bit, just to get our option, just to understand the options that are out there to reduce liability overall. So it's not something I can imagine. Well, first of all, it would be all working with the town. And so who knows, the town would have a say in all of that. But I just want to make sure that's in people's heads as well.
Yeah. Is there a hydrant at Lake Waiola?
So what there is at Lake Waiola, if you go down, it's right near Shore Drive, it looks like an actual fire hydrant sitting there. It's a dry hydrant, means it's not pressurized. Last time I spoke with Chief Tibbetts, it's been many years since they've actually used that. So I don't know what its functionality is right now. So it's quite old, but it does exist. And from a distance point of view, Lake Waiola itself is not that far from where McAvoy Pond is. So
No, it's not. Right. If you think about that end of town, that makes, that could be a substitute for that.
There's water
Sure.
there, basically. There's a fair amount of water in that end of town. Where we're challenged mostly, like I was just saying before, is where Dan lives. That area is the most challenging for us. Other than that, Bowen's Pond's always been great because it was easy for us to use. That's really the best thing about it. So it was reliable, and because you could pull off the road, you could park trucks not in the roadway, so it's a little safer. But from the point of, in an active fire, we would just have police presence or something to just do what we have to anyway. So, but anyway, and I don't know, has anyone spoken with the owner? How soon is he looking to remove the dam? What's the time frame on that? No, we don't.
I think they're right. They're in the environmental. They just did some kind of environmental study, and they just took feedback for it. So I think it's still in the slow process of getting all the approvals, and so who knows.
Okay.
I don't know, Gillian, maybe your dad has been really involved.
He has been very involved, but I don't know all the details. I do know that public comment was due, I think, last week and just went in. So I don't know about the timing of how those decisions get made.
Yeah, because I mean, I think your dad called me and I spoke to them about this, kind of sort of reiterated what I'm saying here, essentially. So, I mean.
And I think he asked to meet with us next meeting.
Okay.
Is that true, Glenn?
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, I think probably the next meeting or later, but they weren't ready for today. If it's the item that Michael was wanting to come to you about.
Joe, can you clarify again? I think you talked about two different ways you get water, the dry hydrant and drafting. Is that right?
Okay, yeah. So the dry hydrant's key functionality in my mind is the ability to use the water source when there's, in the wintertime when there's ice, where you can't just put something in the water. It's a lot,
Okay.
it's easy to get this stuff. Drafting is, you're drafting either way, essentially. You know, you hook up to the pipe that goes under the water, or we take something and throw it in the water. It's doing the same thing. It's just that you have something that's already under the ice or under the water. And sometimes it's easier to handle. It's sometimes easier. Well, it's actually can be easier to get water from a distance where beyond the length of the hose that the truck carries, because the pipe goes out into the pond. It has, you know, the water level in the pipe that you're drafting from the dry hydrant is at the water level surface. So it comes all the way down the pipe. So even if it's a 50 or 60-foot pipe, you have water in it at all times up to the level of what the height of the pond is or lake, if that makes sense. So it can be simpler sometimes to use the dry hydrants. It depends really on the situation.
But it's good to have options.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. It seemed like a silly thing, but doesn't it? I mean, just if you have a dry hydrant, say you had one at Waiola, and the top in Waiola's like is frozen a couple feet down, doesn't that pipe, the top of the pipe, freeze too?
Well, so the water level is at whatever the level of the pond or the lake is. So if the water level is such, you know, so let's say you put your, I mean, what's the best way to say this? So your pipe comes down into the ground, it goes down a certain amount of feet to get out to the pond. Ideally, that whole run is below the frost line.
Yeah.
Follow me on that? So
Yeah.
otherwise, yes, the potential exists for the same thing. You get everything be frozen if it's too shallow.
There must be some kind of, well, I guess that's a technical thing. There must be some kind of a block down lower in the pipe so that there isn't water above where it would freeze, but whatever. So is it worth investigating dealing with McAvoy to some extent to see if Shutesbury, if that pipe works there and in Waiola, and if they would, if it's not very good, if they would go in with us to improve that or something? I mean, that would seem like a resource for that end of town that makes sense.
I can speak with Chief Tibbetts again. Keep in mind that he's due to retire at the end of June, so he may not really care.
Well, the two of you is all we got right now, so maybe you can make this a final deal or something. I don't know. It'd just be interesting to have that. If you could investigate that a little, might be helpful. I don't know.
No, I mean, again, we can. We've done this. We've done all kinds of things. I mean, if there's ice in the pond, there's no dry hydrant. We've chopped holes in the ice and put something in there and drafted. I mean, it's, you know,
yeah,
there's
like ice fishing,
you know, basically, yeah. Ideally, you know, you have enough water incoming to your incident on tankers that it sustains you for enough of a time till you have a water supply set up somewhere else. That's the goal of what we do with mutual aid.
All right.
At any rate, so I mean, dry hydrants are great. Don't get me wrong, they're great. And what's nice about Bowens and what would be nice about McAvoy is it's off the road. It enables to set up in such a manner that it's safe. It's easy to loop around or create a one-way traffic pattern for all the trucks that are going to the fire and then to the water source, so they don't have to back up and turn around and add time and so on. What can be difficult from McAvoy to say like a fire that's all the way over on the other side of Wendell Depot or someplace else, so you've got travel time, which obviously, so there's formulas that you can work out how many gallons of water you need on the road to maintain a certain fire flow at the end of the hose line, and that's anyway. So that's what we look at. It's a good spot, but we have to invest something in it to make it happen.
I don't suppose anyone knows how much time the lawyer would need to do the easement. So how much that would cost.
$1,000.
I guess you're probably right.
How much?
Well,
I just said 1,000, but just off the top of my head.
Do they give estimates for that type of thing?
Good question.
You can ask, I guess.
Maybe.
Doesn't hurt to ask.
The increase in their fees wasn't too unreasonable.
No.
And, you know, I just bumped their appropriation up a little bit to cover that. I mean, you know, so compared to what it costs for reporting, it's nothing.
Yeah.
But Lori, if you guys are at some point in the future considering making the dam go away, is that what I heard you say before? Is that you were?
It's out there in our sites. But,
Okay.
you know, we'd have to talk, it's all in conjunction with the town, because
Got
we
it.
have,
Okay,
so it would depend.
that's the only high hazard dam we have in town.
Yeah, one thing Ray was mentioning, he wondered if we could just decrease the level of the dam, so it wouldn't be a high hazard. And that might reduce liability, but still,
Hmm.
but I don't know if that would help with the dry hydrant. That
Well-
would be lower water level.
It would work in the opposite direction essentially. Yeah, because when we, like I said, when we did the survey, and I don't have it handy, I mean, I can find it, but the bottom line is if we want our pipe 2 feet under the water line at a low point in time, essentially when it might be drier out, that's the calculation you make as to how far you dig, how far out it needs to be, et cetera, et cetera. And
That makes sense.
slope coming off is very gradual, so it causes it to be harder.
Mm.
I mean, more difficult to dig, basically.
If you get rid of the dam though, does that affect it as a viable site for the,
If the dam went away altogether, it would not be a viable site.
I see.
If it got lowered, then, you know, we would have to see what that looked like. But it would be foolish to spend a lot of money on something like that, if that was an eventuality.
Yeah. Right.
So it sounds to me like we might need to wait on this issue. If we don't know the fate of the pond, how much are we willing to invest?
I mean, we could move up a discussion on the fate of the pond, if that's something that we feel. I mean, if we want to have a better, clear idea of what potential options or might be, you know, of interest to both parties.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and if you guys want me to go out and try to find a couple estimates of what the dig might look like, I can try and do that. See if I can get anything out of anybody that's meaningful. At one point, I know we had, in the many discussions that were had over this, it was proposed that maybe the highway guys could actually do the digging. I don't know. We'd have to talk to Richie and see if that's something they want or have the time to spend, because when it's not the kind of thing you can do a little bit here and there. You're going to do it and get done and move on. You know what I mean? You have to do it and be done and do it for real. And then you have to have the trees removed that need to be removed and stumped out, et cetera. So that's all part of the gig, but
It
Yeah,
would
I like-
definitely help to know what price range we're in, you know, I mean, that as far as planning goes, it's important to know if something's likely to be $2,000 to $5,000 or $5,000 to $10,000 makes a difference.
okay. I will
I-
see what I can do.
I like the idea of checking with Shutesbury about the Waiola hydrant. So
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
that,
I'll
we
have
could do that.
I'll have to ask Chief Tibbetts. I'm trying to remember what he said about it. There's some reason why they don't use it anymore. Let's put it that way. So I'll find out about what its fate is and why they don't really use it.
They got so many houses around there. They must, I mean,
Right.
that's heavily populated area. They must be getting water from somewhere if they need it.
Well, they can get it right out of the lake.
Well, that's what I mean.
I mean, without the dry hydrant, there are spots around the lake where they can just draft directly out of the lake.
Oh, so maybe that's how, well, if they do it that way, then we could too.
But we could too. That's correct. And we would, in a pinch.
Yeah.
We would do all those things.
Yeah, it is 40 feet deep in the middle, so I hear.
It can, yeah, but parts of it that are that deep. Absolutely.
Joe, we may have already had this discussion. I just don't remember. Is the water area between Stone Road and John Quist not suitable?
So the water area between all that stuff on that side of the road, mostly as you're headed downhill on the right side of the road, there's a lot of water there, and some of it's relatively close to the road. And yes, it's totally usable. If we had to, we would absolutely do that. As far as placing a dry hydrant there, is that a doable thing? It's a possibility. The issue becomes, again, is it worth it? What are the safety issues with trying to draft there? Some of it's on a curve, and you know how Wendell Depot Road is. No one, people don't pay attention. They're coming around at 45 miles an hour. All that other stuff is part of it. But yeah, the water's there, absolutely. And it's
Right.
totally visible.
So again, one of those options for drafting is a possibility. but
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost sounding like we may not have a suitable location that makes sense for doing a dry hydrant. But what liability does that leave us at? Do you get water faster with a dry hydrant than the drafting?
Depends on the skill of the crew that are out there trying to do it. Basically. And yeah, let's just leave it at that.
Okay.
But it's important when everything's frozen. If everything's frozen, that's
It'd be,
the
yeah,
only way. Oh, or you could cut through the ice.
you can cut through the ice, but obviously that becomes problematic if you have a foot of ice to try to, if it's all the factors that make winter fires problematic are involved.
Mm.
Dry hydrants are what give you the flexibility of just, it's all this, all usually year-round access to the water source. So.
Okay. So investigating Waiola a little bit, maybe getting a really ballpark quote, and then if you want, we can bring Ray in to talk more about our thoughts about the future of the dam at McAvoy with the town.
Sure.
To inform us more before we take another step.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks, Joe.
All right. Any other questions for me?
Take the rest of the night
I
off.
think so.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go have my first asparagus out of the garden. I'm gonna go.
All right.
That
right.
sounds wonderful.
We'll see you all. Have a good night. Bye.
Thanks,
For
Jeff.
you.
Yeah.
Good night, Joe. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, so I think we're moving back to annual town meeting warrant
Great.
with Doug
Yeah.
here.
Doug's been kind of taking the lead on all the financial parts of it, which is most of it. And then we have the solar bylaws and the resolution in support of the fair share amendment.
I have to run for one moment. I'll be right back, but go ahead.
So our original timeline was to try to get it posted by Saturday, actually. And I think Doug has shared the most recent draft with you. So there's probably still some more, definitely still some more tweaking and stuff before it is ready for showtime. But I think that all the substantive items were on the draft that Doug shared.
And I feel pretty good about the money numbers. I'll run through them again, possibly. We might have a FinCom meeting tomorrow night. I don't know how many will be there. I've been doing kind of, you got two people one night, two people another night, one person another time, but we got some work done. But I think the numbers are pretty good. So I'm not too worried about that. I saw I drafted a resolution for the ARPA funds, and Glenn I modified it in an official way. Did a good job there. So I don't know if people looked at it. I don't know.
Yeah, I did. It all looks good to me.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Oh, I'm looking now.
Well, Glenn, make sure there aren't any big typos in there.
Yeah, I might have some edits for clarity or for grammar or whatever,
Edit.
but nothing substantive. It looked good to me.
You look at it from the eye of somebody who has no idea what it is that we're talking about, and does it make any sense? That's gonna,
Right.
I mean, eyes are gonna glaze over that one, I'm sure.
Do you have the MLP budget article, Glenn?
Yeah, I think
It's
it's
in there.
included in there already.
All right, good. Maybe I'm
The
looking at
actual
a
budget
an
is-
older
Sorry.
version.
I was assuming that the actual budget would be in the pages with the other detailed documentation.
Oh,
If that's
okay.
okay, is that all right?
I think so. I think he might have done it within in the past, but I don't see any
Yeah,
reason
I'm not
why.
sure. So that's the thing, maybe we could find out whether that needs to be there or not. So the breakout pages, there's going to be pages of them, like more like last year where the fire department, the library, highway department, presumably the MLP budget will all be broke out, you know, on a separate page, be a little easier to access, you know, and people can look at it better. I suppose it could be an official part of the warrant, but we aren't really ready to post that. So that's a question.
All right, I'll check with Ray. I think possibly one reason to put it in is to show that we're not actually taking money from the town. It's being appropriate, you know, it's being taken from the revenue, from the fees.
Well, you know, one way
But
of
maybe that can be on
considering
a
that is, you
separate.
know, the Article 4 number is just all it is, and the warrant is a big number.
Right,
And then,
right.
then in the budget handout that everybody sees is all the breakout. So none of the other expenses of the
Right.
town are broken out in the warrant itself.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I suppose they're all part of the official record, but.
Yeah,
So
I'll double
solar-
check with Ray,
similar.
what he thinks.
The phrasing of the solar bylaw one basically gives a short version and then says refer to your handout that's being submitted at the town meeting. I guess the real question is whether we are missing anything altogether. I mean, it seems like in general, you're approving the substance of the
right.
as you've seen it.
This is Phil just checking in. There's an awful lot of silence on this Zoom.
We're contemplating the warrant.
And we just sold the town. We sold the town to somebody else.
I thought Glenn was taking a nap over there.
No, if I was napping, you would hear me snoring.
So if we want to post it this weekend, then we'd have to come in and sign it before that. What day do you actually definitely want to post it, Dan?
I'm flexible. I can do it any day as soon as it's ready, but
I guess I would, if it's not urgent, I would appreciate having till Monday to make sure that all the numbers, they've been shifting around quite a lot. And there's a couple I wanted to double check, Carolyn. I think I got them right. So I don't know if that would work for people. That would be good for us, I think.
I'd like to have the honor of taping it to the window, so I want to call dibs on that, which means Monday as well.
All right, so that's practical. That's right.
All right, so we can all make sure we read it really, really carefully
Please
before
do.
Monday.
Please do.
And then
Please
we
do.
can all go in and sign Monday morning, or I don't know. Do you have time when you'd be able to sign it, Gillian? Yeah.
Well, when will it be printed, I guess?
Maybe Monday, yeah, maybe late Monday, so that we can all have updates during the day and then print the final version.
Right, because you'll need time, Glenn, to get it printed.
I mean, it won't take too long once it's finalized to print it. So if it really is finished by Monday morning, then it could be anytime after, maybe say afternoon, that it maybe does make sense for you all to schedule when you're coming in, because it might be good for Dan to be the last one since he needs to do the assistant constable role as well.
the return of service, right, and all
Yeah,
that.
return of service, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm flexible, so we can schedule times to do that on Monday.
Okay. Do you have availability, Gillian, on Monday?
Yeah, I could either do it around noon or later in the day, like 3:30 or 4:30.
Noon's good.
Yeah, why don't we plan on noon? If for some reason it's taking longer, I'll text you, but
Okay.
All right, I can try to be there around then too.
And I mean, if it ends up being really like you needed me to come up at 1 or 2, I'll make it work.
okay.
Thanks.
Carolyn, can you hear us? I don't know if she's actually there.
I think she's actually there.
Not actually there. Anyway, I'll check in with her. I want to have her take a look at all
I'm
of us.
actually here.
Oh, cool. Can you, just, at the leisure of the next day or so, take a look at all the extra articles, and make sure I've got the numbers right in them?
I
If you
will
haven't
do
already.
that.
Thank
Yep,
you.
I'll get back to you tomorrow. I'll go
Okay.
over them and get back to you tomorrow on that.
Great, thanks. Thanks so much.
Oh, actually, the one thing, I think we had planned to be in the town hall, right? Unless there was some major reason to be outside. And it still says on the common, in case we want to adjust that.
Oh, does it say on the common?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, people have been having problems with this.
Barbara
mean-
just sent out an email saying the number of COVID cases in Wendell have been pretty prevalent. I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we could. I guess we don't have a weather forecast yet.
I mean,
The
we could say
majority
it's
of the
gonna
Good
be on the
Neighbors
common.
Board got it. We had to change
Oh.
the plans for Good Neighbors, the thing at Leverett, there was that, just a whole bunch of people wound up with it there. I don't know.
The other thing to keep in mind, or at least this is what I read on this small town administrators email list, is that you can strongly encourage masks, but you can't require them because people have to be able to vote.
Yeah.
I mean, we could plan to have it outdoors and then go inside if the weather's bad. Everybody likes the outdoor meetings. We just need to make sure we have a sound system and that people are willing to
check it
set
out.
up and stuff.
Yeah, Al's done a good job with that. We could check with him.
Oh, there was an interest from the chair of the historical commission and being able to call for comments. Lori was in the office when we were discussing this, the three of us. And it's obviously, I mean, acoustics, it's just challenging. I don't know if in harder if it's outside. But still possible. I guess you could, I don't know how good cell service is out there, or if you could connect via Wi-Fi. Anyway, it's just challenging. She really wanted to be there.
She
And
actually,
Lori-
remember, Glenn, she had another request, which was to move the solar bylaw up to the front of the meeting, which I don't know
Yeah.
if that's something that makes a different, if that's something that is in a particular order for a reason, or if it's, I mean,
Well, Doug was saying that the warrant articles are in order for a reason, but I don't know if the moderator could allow you to change the order at the meeting.
The reason, the factor for us is just that the numbers on the money warrant articles in many cases remain the same, so that we track them over time. So it
oh,
doesn't,
okay.
so it doesn't matter, as long as, say, article example 15 is still article 15, it doesn't make too
I
much
see.
difference what article 7 is.
Okay.
So from my end, it doesn't matter.
Well, I do think that Article 1, 2, 3, and 4 are important to stay in the same order. I would not like to see any article go before 1, 2, 3, or 4, because these are pro forma articles, and 4 is the whole budget.
Right.
And
Right.
that's the purpose of the town meeting. So
Right.
I would not be in favor of putting anything before the first 4 articles.
And 4 is likely to take quite a long time.
Yeah.
especially this year, because there are a lot of changes in it, organizationally and otherwise. So if her goal was to be done in the first hour, that may or may not be possible, but you could maybe you could make it Article 5, depending, I don't remember what's there.
You know, and I'll double check with her because she was at the public comment meeting. And it's possible she's, things have changed and this isn't such a need for her. So I'll double check with her before we discuss this further, and I might just indicate that
Yeah, let me look at that.
it's not really something we want to do, or there's a lot of reasons why we do it the way we do it, so.
Yeah, and Lori, we could point out to her that we can notify her when her article's coming up. So if
That's true.
we give her a
Yeah,
phone call.
she's got a memorial service or a funeral or something, so
Oh, okay.
at noon, which I don't know, how long do our annuals usually take?
We'll be there.
Very-
now.
It's
No
got
more than
more
s-
articles than usual.
No more than
And-
6 hours, right?
They used to be. We've been doing them a lot quicker than that lately. That's true. We used to be 2 days.
I think we've been getting done by noon or 1 at the latest.
Yeah, they've been pretty short the last few years.
Yeah, good job, Doug.
I don't know how much responsible I am. I don't know. Oh,
Okay,
what that would be. I'm gonna look at that.
all right, so do we, do we need to check in with Katie about outdoor versus indoor, any of that stuff? I don't know if she's there.
Definitely need to check in with Al. I'll send him a
Yeah.
note right now.
Okay,
And
here's Katie. Outdoor or indoor?
Yeah, I guess I was assuming it was outdoor because it was the Saturday, but
Looks like we're leaning that way, so we just wanted to make sure you're aware. But if the weather's bad, we'd probably just go indoors rather than, move it, I think,
to another day, yeah.
rather than move it. Yeah, just indoors with masks.
That sounds good.
Okay,
Good, thanks.
I'd like to add that I saw the sign outside the town office for the town meeting today, and I was happy to see that. It's been missing in recent years, the public notice about the upcoming meeting, so good job, whoever put that out there. And maybe if we could have one up on the intersection, that would even be better. Maybe there is one, I didn't see that one.
Or maybe we move the one that we have. It keeps falling over. I keep setting it right again. It might roll over anywhere, but it seems like it's especially difficult in that location to find a level spot for it.
yeah, I think it'd be good to put it somewhere in the intersection, the center at some point. We could probably wait another week, but
Anyway, it's
it
good
never
notice.
makes sense. All right, are we ready to move on? I think we can go to the Mormon Hollow contract because we got Phil here. Phil?
Yes, works for
Phil
me.
here?
Yeah.
So do you have
So,
stuff to say about that?
I'm not sure what you want. I've sent some documents, but in general, we have a contract with Davenport. We have gone through all the proper procurement. I believe we have done everything as best we can. We did, the road commission has been in the habit of hiring FERCog of late to manage procurement, and Andrea Woods does it very well for us, so we're right on top of that. I have a budget that I have circulated, and Doug has seen it, and Erin has signed off on her portion of the contract, which says that she attests to the availability of funds. So as far as the contract is concerned, I'm hoping the board will sign it. I will tell you, though, that we've had a little bit of a glitch already before the contract's even signed. So let me just share that with you. So it's out here. They, Davenport immediately researched into the availability of the culvert, the precast culvert device that's into that, in that project, and was told that they're not available until probably mid-December, just the way things are back ordered.
Wow.
So that would be a no starter for this year, unless we agree that they could tear the road open beginning in September and have it open and available for the culverts.
Yeah.
But I must say the Diamond family has been, from day one, do not take Thanksgiving away from us. So we have to really take a deep look at that. I've suggested to Davenport that they look at alternative culverts, and they are doing that. They're going to submit a plan for aluminum culverts, which have their own ratings and have their own credibility, but they have to submit it to our engineer, and our engineer would have to approve that change order, and then that change order have to go to DOT. So technically it can be done to change the type of culvert, and those are more available. They could be here sometime later in the summer. So if that works, then that's good. The problem is that if we wait for that to go through the approval process, we've lost any chance of ordering the other type culvert, because then the culvert wouldn't be available till, if they don't order it until midsummer, then it would be next spring before it comes in. In any event, that's a detail that we have to work through. And I think we're all set to sign the contract, and we'll have to work through whatever that entails in the process. I expect to have a conversation with the Diamonds this week or soon and discuss just what that would mean for them if the road, in fact, needed to be closed during that period.
And Phil, that would be a total road closure or one lane or the whole
no,
thing?
They have to excavate 40 feet in the ground and for probably 100 feet in length. It's, they have to really, that canyon's going to be opened up more than it is now.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
And how bad would it be to if it had to get delayed till next spring in terms of waiting?
Well, there are risks. The storm damage last year did affect that head wall. Who knows what it'll take to make that finally go. I don't expect that to happen. I don't expect the culvert will fail this year, but more storms could do it. The other consideration is that costs will undoubtedly change.
How long is that bid good for, Phil?
Unless we close the door on them, the bid's good until September. That's their closure date.
Oh, yeah.
They're supposed to finish the project this fall.
Don't see any end to the increased costs right now unless something weird really happens. I agree. And I just got to say, Phil, this has become so complicated, and he's staying on top of it. And, sometimes we have to talk almost every day. And I appreciate that, we can talk straight. So we modified the way we were doing this, but trying to make it easier, but it's just the financing alone has become increasingly complicated, and not even just the construction issues.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But every project has construction issues, so this isn't
that's not unusual.
It isn't daunting necessarily. I think the issue really is the timing. So we'll look at that. We'll talk some more about it. But I encourage us to move forward and sign the contract and get this project underway, because they can't get firm commitments on dates until they have that.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
I highly recommend that as well.
So do we need a motion just to make sure the board approves of signing the contract?
I'll move that we approve the contract.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 So where
It
is
is-
the contract now? I mean, I left it in your mailbox earlier.
It's in the box for the select board to sign.
So do we all
Unless
three,
our
all of
office
us,
there.
the whole board, sign it?
Yeah, Billion has signed.
They've signed.
So
Oh, Gillian already signed it. Okay.
no pressure, but at your earliest convenience.
Yeah,
do
I'll
it
go in
morning.
tomorrow.
Okay, great. So
And then
that's,
whoever signs it last, put it in Phil's box, I guess, and let him know.
Okay. And thanks for doing all that, Phil. And I think we trust you with all your choices there.
Can I ask a question? I just was curious. If you put in the order for the, the first choice device as a culvert, the
it's
culvert
a
device,
precast concrete culvert, yes.
if you put that in and then you explore the other option, could you just cancel the order? Or is that, I'm sure that's occurred to you, but.
No, it hasn't occurred to me, but that's a consideration. I don't know how the culvert company would react to that kind of maneuvering,
Yeah.
but
Maybe they won't care because they've got so much demand.
yeah,
We'll be with somebody waiting with bated breath to take it.
Doug, you're on mute. I see you trying to talk.
I don't know why there aren't some other cement companies, jumping into this business, because there's such a demand for these things, and if it's just concrete and steel, there's nothing fancy. Well, I'm sure it's all engineered and it's done carefully, but others must have the opportunity to build these things.
Do you think it's
So
an
let's-
issue of the crude
Let's start a
material?
business.
Yeah.
Let's start a concrete business in Wendell.
Fee for service, another income stream.
Culverts are us.
So that's great, and we'll move forward. And by the way, we have the bid opening on the Kentfield Road Bridge Friday at 2:00. And if that goes high, we'll have to have Doug and I will have an arm wrestling match to start, and then we'll talk about it.
What a
I think
great
you
group.
start with the arm wrestling first. That's a good approach.
And Doug, I've been working out, so watch it.
You got a few pounds on me, man.
And that bridge is now closed?
Yes, oh, yes.
Yeah.
We had noticed that there was more damage from Shea, and I went down and looked, and sure enough, the beam that we had put the barriers over to keep people off that left side had deteriorated significantly. So I called the state and asked them to come look, and they did. And at first they said, it's okay, just stay off that side. But then they sent the whole crew out to do a thorough investigation, and they checked all the other beams, and they felt that it was not, they couldn't certify it as safe to use any longer. So it's closed.
Hmm.
And that
what
affects
timing-
one household?
What's that?
Does that affect one household?
Well, there are other people up that road. There's a camp that was permitted and has been in use for a long time. It's I don't know the particulars. I've met them, but it's a big family event. They go up there different times during the summer.
Mhm.
And there's other private property owners up there, so we don't want to. I mean, we have to do what we can to get it open soon. But as of now, they have the option to go up Bullard Road and go down through the woods on a very unmaintained road. They can get in that way. I haven't even tried that myself, so I don't know how bad it is. But other than that, it's a long walk. That road goes all the way from there to Morse Village Road, actually, near the junction of New Salem Road and Morse Village Road.
But there's no one living there full time.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. I was just wondering who was being,
Oh, it is.
inconvenienced.
Yeah,
by
Shade lives right on the side of the bridge, and she's been part of this conversation right along, and her husband, so they're okay with walking across the bridge.
Okay.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Phil.
You're welcome. Thank you for the kind words, Dan. I trust you too.
All right, I think we have one more before we probably go into executive session. The select board vice chair and clerk positions.
Yeah, I think this is pretty interesting. Did you guys have a chance to look at the info from Longmeadow?
I didn't see it.
Oh, did you send something?
I thought I did. I thought I sent out a link to select board procedure.
I saw it. I don't know. Yeah.
Rules of procedure for the select board of the town of Longmeadow. I think I sent it out to everybody, but maybe Glenn, you could forward it again. You
Sure.
can see it. It's a very interesting document. Starting with the first page, which says that, well, it's just this beautiful seal of the town. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh,
But it-
yeah.
Multicolored shield
Mhm.
thing. But it says settled 1644.
Wow.
So, and then incorporated 1783, which is about the same time as Wendell. But anyway, there's a lot of stuff in here, mainly about the different roles on the select board. And there's two other roles, which are vice chair and clerk. And I think it would be great if we had a vice chair and a clerk. The main thing for the vice chair is the vice chair takes over when the chair is not available to run the meetings. That's pretty simple and not a lot of duty. So I would probably volunteer for that. And then there's the clerk, which it turns out is actually a very important role on the select board in a lot of select boards, because the clerk is responsible for keeping track of all the official documents that the select board signs and votes on. And that's really important. And I think it would be a really good thing to relieve Glenn from doing, because he's got so much other stuff to do. And the other thing that the clerk does is sign the town documents. So the clerk is the actual official signature, I think. But anyway, it's just a thought for something to think about. We're obviously not going to do it tonight. But I would say look through a document from Longmeadow, and I would be willing to try to make a draft of rules for Wendell based on this, because I think that a lot of it is just meaningless for Wendell. But there's a few key things like establishing the clerk and just the sort of rules of procedure would be good to have. So I can volunteer to make a draft of that and send it out as a first step.
Okay. Go ahead, Kelly.
Just so that clerk role sounds very much like our town clerk role, but it's different.
It's totally different.
Hmm.
And look at it, online, and you'll see.
I did find the document. Yeah.
Select board clerk is totally different from the town clerk. It's responsible for the select board documents that the select board signs, and is the signator for the select board. So when we have a contract with Tig & Bond and it calls for a signature, we've been doing it basically that if it calls for one signature, we've been doing it that the chair signs. So I've been doing that all along. But it turns out that probably the preferable role is to have the select board clerk sign the official documents of the select board. But look at this and maybe some other towns' rules, because a lot of them have rules. There are a lot of them that are different. The rules for Longmeadow are extreme, there's 10, 15 pages. I don't think we need that. I think just start off with a very simple definition of the roles and definition of how procedure goes, because basically it says that the chair is responsible for holding the meetings and for procedure during the meeting.
Okay.
So as of now, you all don't have any, I'm not aware of any rules of procedure that you all have currently, right? This would be a new.
Right. I don't think there are.
I really support it because
Good idea.
I think having these things is, there's been a lot of vulnerability in a lot of different boards where they don't have these kinds of practices outlined, where they kind of operate on the basis of precedent, because especially where you have a lot of kind of non-competitive elections, which conceivably could happen, you can conceivably get some folks in who don't really have, you really want to put in some protections for the town about the process and the way things are done.
Yep.
As well as for new select board members coming in, it's really helpful to have that roadmap for how things are done.
Or even like, Killian and I were saying, like, I had emailed you all about my vacation, and it's not entirely clear how the coordinator gets his, vacation approved or not approved. That's the kind of thing that could be in there.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you, Dan. That would be great.
Yeah.
We'll try to look for other options too, and we'll get something written.
Yep.
Do you have something, Doug?
Yep. So an item that are not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance is
Hmm.
to request that the select board review and sign the proposed contract from Entree Technologies to purchase the hardware. The reason it couldn't be anticipated was because just Pat finally got it done today, which is not his fault that it was late. It was just the whole process and changes and whatever. So it's pretty solid. I think it's okay. Jim Slavis has looked at it, most of it, and I thought it was very reasonable. This is just hardware. It's not the networking, but they include data transfer from the old computers and all of that sort of thing. What a good question that was asked today was, I think it was Carolyn asked, are they going to dispose of the old ones? And I do not know what we'll do with those. I think some of them might be usable to people for giveaways, because not all of them are dysfunctional. So they could be something that some people would want. But signing the contract would help a lot at this point, because that would mean they could start ordering what they need to do. There are supply issues generally everywhere. And might be able to get some installations after town meeting. So that's my hope.
Is that
So it's
contract?
there. Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
Sorry, is the contract ready to sign?
I believe Glenn has already printed out it in a hard copy. Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't print it out, actually.
Oh,
I guess I wasn't.
well, if it
I
could be
didn't
signed
realize-
next week, that'd be okay too. When maybe, hey, Monday when you come in to sign the
Well, if folks are going in tomorrow to sign the agreement with, for Phil, maybe someone could print it out and bring it in and.
I just printed it out and I could drop it off at the offices in the morning
Great.
for Lori and
Thank you.
Dan.
Okay,
Thank you.
Perfect.
Gillian.
that'd be great. Then if I could get that's great. When it's there, I could come in and make a copy of it and send it to him electronically. They leave a copy in the FinCom box after it's signed. Last person.
So so it actually says Town of Wendell signature, name Doug Tanner.
Yeah, I would just cross that out. I'm not authorized to sign that. That's just sales rep stuff.
Well, you could vote if it only has a place for one.
Or you
signature,
could
vote
vote
to
to let me
authorize
sign.
Gillian to sign, and she could just bring it in and pop it in your box.
I'll make a motion to authorize Gillian to sign the Entree contract. Is it a contract?
Second.
Right, that's fine, and I can sign it too, as finance coordinator, and because since my name's on it anyway, won't hurt.
Should we add Doug into that motion? Or
Sure.
just-
Yeah.
So authorizing Doug
that would make me
and
more
or Gillian to sign the Entree contract.
Was that
Okay.
Sorry, was that a both or?
Oh, both. I would prefer there be a select board member signing it for sure.
Okay, so I'll sign it, Doug. And then, do you want me to leave it at the town office for you to sign?
Yeah, if you just leave it in the FinCom box, I will sign it, and then I will copy it and or scan it and whatever and send it to Pat.
Okay,
Yeah, if they need the hard copy, I'll talk to them about it, but that will get it rolling.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
aye.
Thanks very much.
One other item on that, and maybe Carolyn can pipe in. I know Carolyn had a printer and she was looking into, maybe like giving a small amount of money to Wendell to offset the cost or whatever and bringing it home because it really isn't that usable anymore. But there's certain rules about disposal of equipment and how it needs to be done and all that. Not sure you can just kind of put out an all call, like who needs a computer kind of thing. But then again, if people are saying they're going to use it for their work with the town, that might be a different category because they're employees, you know.
Yeah,
I
how
don't know
have
if
we done
Carolyn's
this in the
here and
past?
able to pipe in with what she learned. I can't remember the details.
Well, Carolyn is an elected officer. I mean, she could certainly take home equipment from the town office. I don't think there's any question about that.
But it wasn't going to be for me. I was going to just make a donation, like for when they have the surplus auction.
Yeah.
And I was giving it to Ashley. So
Oh, yeah.
it's one of those little, you know, it's a 1-page printer. It's not, anyway, I don't know if Glenn ended up being able to make it work with his computer or not. I'm not even sure it works with Windows 10.
Yeah, it wasn't able to make it work with Windows 11. I
Yeah,
should have
it
told you.
really- I mean, it really wasn't that old. It's only, you know, maybe 5 or 6 years old, but it's more the situation of built-in obsolescence.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it didn't keep up with computer software upgrades.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, generally for surplus, do we always do some kind of auction, or I feel like we've
There's
done
an
other things.
article on the town meeting warrant, you know, that allows the select board to sell stuff at. So it's
Okay.
But I realized that actually what I was saying, I shouldn't really have brought it up because what you were talking about, Carolyn, was a totally different thing than people taking computers to use at home for their
yes,
Wendell work. Yeah.
Well, if it's within our power, I'm fine having Carolyn take the printer home.
Me too.
It's not something that is usable equipment, right?
No,
At the offices.
it does, it stopped, it wouldn't even work with my computer that I have on my desk right now. And now that computer, I can't even get that to work.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That, yeah, you were saying that today. I don't know if then, well, we're gonna have to do something soon to figure out a way to quote, dispose of all these computers that we're upgrading. Like I say, because some of them are probably very functional, would might work for a high school student or somebody who needs access to web, you know, and that sort of thing. So we'll have to have a system for it. I don't know what that'll be, but I mean, that's probably the thing we need to do. And the collector, the assistant collector, I believe she takes all in one home. And that's what she works on, Wendell, you know, tax collection issues with at home, and we're upgrading that. So it's not unusual for people you take town equipment home. Glenn does.
I'm at home right now on my work laptop.
Maybe what we should do is look into what we need to do to determine surplus equipment. And then it sounds like all these computers will need to be wiped clean as well.
Oh, yeah, I'm assuming, yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it doesn't say that in the contract, Doug. That's what I'm just.
No, but it does say he'll do data transfers. So I think the data transfer will include that.
Transfer
They'll
and
be
wipe.
empty.
Mhm.
Okay, I don't want to assume though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then can we bring it up at the next meeting and when we have clarification about what we need to do, and then see how we can move equipment on, whether we hold a auction or and then figure out how to dispose of what isn't auctioned off. Is that how we get rid of surplus equipment?
Yep.
Goes to the rats. Or I took the computers that were in my office that had been accumulating for years that were no more longer. I took them down to Tech One in Orange. And they wiped it clean and
Yep.
Great.
I don't, they have some program or something. You
So
know,
maybe they'd be willing to do lots of it.
we use the computers.
Staples offers that as well, technology recycling service.
Yep.
Great. All right, are we all set with that discussion and ready to finish up? Is there any other unanticipated stuff for this meeting?
Not for me.
All right. Well, I'm sorry, Glenn, you and I were talking about something possibly to just make sure is on the agenda for the next meeting. I honestly can't even remember what it was.
Just now?
No, earlier.
Yeah, when you were in the office. Oh, yeah, it was about making it official to have the entryway kept open with forms so people can kind of do self-service when the town offices aren't open.
Yes. So I'll make a note so we remember to put that on the agenda for next meeting.
Great.
This is Phil again. I'd add that we'd had some conversation about RRG being on the agenda. And I did have a meeting with the New Salem assessors yesterday. And I feel confident and comfortable that the assessors or for Wendell, maybe the select board at this point, but it seems comfortable that the local authorities can make decisions related to RRG's involvement. It's not on their contract to provide office time. And I think we've worked out, at least in New Salem, and I think that Wendell can do likewise, but I've worked on a comfortable and agreeable discussion for passing information and documents. So I'm not sure what the point of having them on the agenda was, and I'm just saying that I don't need that anymore.
Okay, Phil. Oh, great. Okay. I do still think maybe we should have assessors on the agenda in terms of clarifying what happens if we don't have a board of assessors and if the select board is responsible for decisions that need to be made by the board of assessors.
How would we research that question? Like, who would be the person to ask?
I did. Did I put it in your box? I found the MGL that states, or I should say makes reference to the select board taking on duties of the assessors. Did I put that in your box, Glenn?
I don't remember seeing it.
I printed it off. I'll find it and I'll put it in your box. That'll at least give you a starting point.
Okay, or if you find it online and want to just send a link to the whole select board, that would probably be useful. I don't know how you usually research these things. Are you researching hard copy or?
It's difficult.
Okay.
Finding
however you want to get it to me is fine.
Okay.
Thanks for researching that.
Thanks, Carolyn.
So it's basically just part of a law that kind of says what you do in this situation.
Yes. I wonder.
Okay.
I just found the Mass General Law. I'll send that to you, Glenn.
Okay.
For all of us.
You found it, Gillian?
Yeah. All right, any other things to discuss in our open session? We're going to be moving into executive session once we're done here.
Gillian, I just sent an email to Pat, CC'd you on it about the signing it and the question about the data wiping.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, so Dan, feel free to help me out with this one, but I think I would probably adjourn the open meeting and then we'll move to an executive session. Is that how it works?
No, I think we make a motion to go into executive session for a certain reason, a certain number on that form.
All right.
And then.
So we do that first and then
we say.
make people leave.
We say in the motion that we're going into executive session, and when we go out of executive session, we will not return to open session.
Okay. So, did you say I make a motion? Yes, make a motion that we go into executive session for reason 2, which is to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, which is our town coordinator. I think that's probably all I have to say, and we will not be going into open session when we are done.
Exactly, and I second that.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? And all in favor? Aye.
I,
Okay, so, and actually, do we need to say that we want to allow Carolyn to join us in some way? Remember we did that with Glenn and
Yes, we can do that. If Glenn approves.
his,
Yeah. I asked Carolyn to join us and I'm not sure. I don't think you need to make a vote to that. You can invite anyone you wish to.
okay, so
executive
we'll
session.
invite Carolyn. But we would ask others to leave, please.
Fine, I'm leaving.
Hi, Phil, thank you.
Good night.
Are you saying something, Josh? Because we couldn't hear.
Looks like he's trying to say something.
Yep.
Oh,
Okay,
trying to hang up.
okay. So I think we're officially in executive session.
That's right. And just a second, I'm gonna pull something up here.
And does someone need to take notes while we're in executive session? Or no notes?
Yeah,
Well-
I would take minutes and then you would approve them at the next meeting. So even though it's going to be something that affects me, you will have a chance to make sure that it's correct before they get.
Yeah, that sounds good. Good.
Oh, and I'm going to have to, actually, I should stop the recording.